This is Python Poker, and today we're going to do another play and explain video. So here we actually turned a full house here. So we're going to bet small into already a large BB pot, see if we get some callers. Hopefully someone hits a flush on the end and they don't have quad fives, which I did run into last week. So here are some draws do get there, flush draw bricks, but we do have some draws that get there, and trip fives are available. So when we go all in for value, maybe we'll get some callers. And this person, hopefully maybe they shove. If they shove, it's not going to be the best for us, but we have to go all in. They could have quad fives, it's possible. Nope, they both were on straight draws there. So we ended up taking down that one. I like it when people go all in for me. When I have a full house, that's always a little bit easier for me. But so yesterday I played a 4-table session of 2-0, and today we're going to do the same thing. However, yesterday's video we had the screens were a little small to see when I was looking back on the videos on viewing it through the phone. It's hard to tell what was going on. I did make some good shorts, so I'm going to keep the video posted. I think if I delete it, the shorts go away, so I'm just going to keep it posted on there. But you could zoom in on it a little bit, but you can still hear the thought process. There were some cool spots in yesterday's action, but hopefully get some more spots today. But if not, no worries. We're just going to take it through action by action, give you my thought process, and if you see any times where I need to improve or you see any suggestions, comment, give me some feedback, and I can incorporate that in the game as we move up the stakes here. So we're still doing the hybrid approach, 4-table, 2-0, 1-table, 10-0, and until we get our bankroll up where we want to see it around $300 and $400, just so we can have some better bankroll odds, I guess, in case, because every now and then we could lose 10 buy-ins. It's normal to lose 10 buy-ins, and if I lose 10 buy-ins at 10-0, that's half my bankroll for the most part. So I want to get a little more of a cushion. So we have a conservative bankroll management system. We did start with $50, so we're about $240 or so as of today. So we're slowly increasing it, but I don't want to annihilate it all at this point, especially with the anti-game of the 10-0 anti-game on this site. It plays more like a 20-0 game. Lots of deep stack players. Even on this 2-0, I always go in for about 100 BBs. I need to top up here, but most of the time these players start with 200 BB stacks, so it's more like a 4-0 hybrid game. So it's gonna prepare me for the 10-0 on this site, which plays like a 20-0. So we'll get some practice with some deep stack play. But I'm always going to start with 100 BBs. I play well starting with 100 BBs, and for one, if my stack is below 100, people on these stakes might think I'm not a good player because I'm not topping. Well, I always do usually top up. I need to top up this one here as I'm speaking, but the reason when I top up, let's see, we're about $240. So nothing too crazy, but we need to top up. The only negative is when we top up, it tops up $1. It doesn't give you like a minimum top up value. So, it is what it is. It'll be fine because it's deep stack on that table where we topped up. So we're still a little above. So we got some stacks, huge stack to our right here. But let's hope we get some hands. So yeah, should be a little better on the viewing experience with these large tables. The only negatives I kind of have to find to maneuver these windows a little bit, so in case I can easily get to the tables I want to be able to click on. So yeah, I should be able to click on all these now. Yes, okay, I have a nice tiled approach, so I can click on and check out some of the showdowns. So we got an all in here, and we're interested to see what they go all in with. To my direct left, their stats are only 69 hands or so it's nothing too crazy. But we don't get to see what they have there. But we want to take notes if we can see some showdowns to see what our opponents play with. That just will help us whenever we play some pots against them in the future. Queens here. I'll check out their stats here. So they are relatively small pre-flop. Raise here. Gonna definitely be raising this one. Queens. This person went all in a little bit ago, so we'll see what they have. So they want me to go all in. I'm probably going against kings or aces, but we'll see what they have. Jacks, hold. All right, so we do end up holding there against the jacks, but given the action there, ace, king, jacks plus is available in that range. The reason why I call, I'm gonna raise this one. I was debating on calling, could be behind, someone going a huge raise over the top. With queens there, they're still a vulnerable hand, but at that point we have to call that one, especially given the pre-flop all-ins over the last 21,000 hands that I played. These mostly 2NL, but 10NL stakes as well. If we get it in a pair, I'm going to check my equity. Wide variety. This is a large raise here, so they're repping set 2-pair plus. I don't have the equity to call that one because I have to call for the 100 BBs. Here, 5 BBs, I do have the equity to call that. I'm gonna check ace high, king high, pair sevens. Okay. All right, you got me. And what did they have? Oh, they had nothing. They had okay, wow. All right. Well, I can't call there in the long run because if I call with a gut shot that large size and on the turn, what happens? I don't hit my gut shot. I'm like, I already invested this much. I'm just going to call another. I'm just going to annihilate BBs there. So I got to make the long run decision not to call with a gut shot, even though it is a nut gut shot there. We can't be playing like that. As I call it, hope poker. We need to play straightforward and make the best decision, and that's not the best decision to call that much of a bet, given the odds to have for one card to hit, even though it is the best straight draw, the nut straight draw, but we can't be doing that. We gotta play better than these people. I'm not gonna play hope poker. We're gonna play real. So let's get some action here. Even with the 4 tables, it's still kind of slow because it's 8-handed on these reg tables here. Regular tables, not Russian cash tables. That's what I'm calling regular tables. I'm not saying everyone here is a regular. I want to raise king 9 offsuit. I don't want to call or 3-bet king 9 offsuit. I would raise this from the button, possibly the cutoff, but definitely the button. But here I'm already gonna be behind. As we see on the showdown, we'll see that I'll have at least king high, ace high. Pre-flop, they already have me dominated, and ace jack is in this range. King jack, even I guess pocket pairs better than king 9. So let's see what they have here. Where's that king? It's right here. Enough. Please see what they have. So it says already 100 BB pot. So our pre-flop decision is spot on, not playing their games and getting into pots with these nonsense hands. Want to see what they have, at least ace jack, king jack, maybe even a 7x, but most likely ace jack, king jack, pocket pairs, tens. Let's see, backdoor flush draw available. But I think it's ace jack, king jack type of hand. We'll see how close we get. They're going deep here. Go into this board and see what they have. They're repping strong. At least a flush. We don't get to see it. We're not gonna push this button to see the hands. Sometimes I do if I'm curious, but I got a raise over the top. Gonna do a 2x raise. 10s there. A raise 6s. Get this person out of the pot, hopefully, and maybe they'll call. No, didn't get him off the pot. Okay, so I'm gonna check. All these limps. Raise. Here I'm gonna call to set mine. 37 BBs. I know what you have, bud. Can't call here. Fold. It's obvious what they have when they call a big pre-flop raise. They have at least a king, queen. They're not BSing on these stakes. Gonna open up 7-6 here. I like these suited connectors on the. Jeez, come on, people. What is going on? What can you possibly have? God. Multi-way. Check. Okay, so we do end up hitting a. We're gonna bet some equity here. 50%, at least 50% pot with this connected board. Probably should have did an over bet. Here we have huge lead. We're gonna fold. We're gonna fold this one. Okay, we hit a 6 on the turn, which is pretty much pointless. Multi-way. I'm gonna check. Okay, so we do end up in a flush. We'd lose to better flushes. Gonna check the action. It's multi-way. Anything's possible. Straights are out there. King is out there. Ace is out there. If I check, it's probably gonna check back. They're going all in here. Oh God. Am I gonna lose to like a nut? 1 and 2, 3 times I'm right. Call. All right. That's even scary to me, calling that flush there when they're just jam on me all in. But like, really, what am I supposed to do with that combo and that point? They're definitely repping a flush, at least a flush, as I thought they were. But there's also lots of draws out there. So there's a straight draws. There's 2 pair draws out there. Not draws, it's already completed at that point, but there's ace king available. There's a couple 2 pair combos. There's straight combos, and given their all-in size, I need to be right, you know, about 1 and 2.5 to be successful. And like, the question is, like, given that action, especially I was betting the draw, what's the probability that they have? I'm gonna bet here because I want to get ace high off a chop with this hand. That's why I bet this one. Also, this board run out is kind of scary looking, but I want to get ace high off a chop. That's why I don't want to check that one on that hand, so I didn't overbet. Yeah, but going back to that flush hand, if I have to call that. I mean, I lose sometimes, but the ace of clubs and the king of clubs were already out there. So what other club combos do they have? Queen jack of clubs, queen 10 of clubs, some queen combos of clubs, but we have to call that one. If we lose, we're gonna set mine here. You pick up a pair. I have half pot equity to call a pair. We didn't hit a set here. I'm gonna check, hopefully to improve. By improve, I mean backdoor 5-6. It's really the only way, or we can hit a set on the turn as well. We don't have enough equity for our odds there, so we ended up hitting trips here. I'm just gonna bet small, see if they have anything to continue. I'm gonna fold with no picked up equity. If they have an ace, they'll call. But I just want to bet small there because there's the draws that do come available. Backdoor flush draws available, aces available to call. I want to make sure I get some value on that turned trip board. So we're just going to take our time. So some of my philosophy when I'm playing here is I watch a lot of streamers. Unfortunately, I have lots of, what the heck is going on here? This is probably a loose play here, but I have lots of limpers here, and this should be a higher bet. I'm just incentivizing everyone to call. I should have bet like at least 6 BBs there. That's a mistake. Of course, everyone's gonna call or raise. I just blundered 4 BBs, especially this pre-flop raise size is so small. I can't call this. I can't call that in the long run. I wasted that. But we would have had okay, we can't have that mindset where we would have had this. That's nonsense. We folded, the hand's over, but so even if we flopped a full house, who cares? The decision pre-flop doesn't matter. It's independent of the flop. So we folded, made the right choice. So hopefully we'll see at the end. King Jack would not have been good pre-flop given that action. So we'll see the showdown and show why we made the right choice pre-flop, and we can't second guess ourselves. Okay, jacks, twos, we're better than that hand pre-flop. Queen 5 suited, but yeah, so we made the right decision pre-flop to get out of there. But the first mistake we did on that hand pre-flop was raising the 4x over the limpers. I should have did at least 6x, possibly even 8 BBs to assume that people will fold and not come and outdraw me with that type of hand. But I should have just folded to begin with. But that's the kind of things we're trying to work on, is improving those small details like that. So 1 or 2 BB mistakes here do add up over tens of thousands of hands. So we want to make sure we make the right choice and compound our thoughts, and just make sure we make sure the bankroll increases and not decreases with our errors. Let's check the showdown and see if we can see anything here. Get some information the next time we play. And I'm also looking for common names that I play here every day for 4 hours in this pool. And so some of these names are recurring, so I can see. Okay, so very wide combos pre-flop and 40-16. 72 and 8. This person had the jacks earlier though, but they did so this person did have the jacks earlier, and they had a 8% PFR. I think it was this person, since they raised over the top, it gave me more incentive to fold, because they're only raising, looks like they're stronger hands, and the jacks do follow that category of hand class. But I was saying earlier, my study is for the most part watching streamers and streamers with GTO backgrounds, like Uri Peleg, Luke Johnson, those kind of individuals, so I can make sure I get my heuristics down, knowing when to continue on certain bet sizes, certain combos, and when I want to raise those combos, the reason why I say raise some combos, like if I have backdoor straight draw, backdoor flush draw, or I'm not just going to bluff without some equity, so I can draw hopefully to a strong hand, draw to the nuts there. But so some of those streamers do talk about those thoughts when they go to the hands. So those are two examples of some GTO players. Here, multi-way, I'm just going to check. See if I can get to, there's going to be ace high here. I had to bet at least 6 BBs to get ace high off their hand, or even a pair of tens would call 6 BB bet, so I don't have any fold equity there. I'm going to fold here. Let's check and see what we can find the showdown. See if we can see it real quick. Nope, they folded. But some other streamers that I do watch is more exploitative style, like Charlie Carroll and a couple other streamers that aren't like the biggest names. But so I balance the GTO and the exploitative play, so I can balance my style. Here I'm gonna raise ace queen. I'm gonna do 3x here. Multi-way, going to bet. There's a couple of draws out there. So we do have top pair on the flop. There's some draws out there. And a continuation bet. Okay. Here I'm going to check. Here I'm going to call. And here I'm going to check and see if we win a showdown. Okay, so they checked. I don't think I have. I'm gonna bet very small. And I got value owned. I should have just checked that one back. Of course, in retrospect, you could have definitely checked that one back. But the reason why I bet very, very small, because I wanted worse to call than an ace. Ace 5 is, I should have checked that one back. In the long run, that's not a good bet. I could just get raised off my equity in the future. So that should have just been a check. That's an error on my fault. But given that they checked back, the board is pretty much a straight is out there. Here I raised pre-flop, so I'm gonna bet half pot. Yeah, since I have an ace of hearts here, multi-way, I'm gonna check. But on that hand with the ace 5, I should have just checked that one and just went to showdown. That's too thin to bet there. It's an example of how I'm going to bleed some BBs, some mistakes. And it's good that I'm getting these mistakes out on these lower stakes, just so we can, when we get to eventually we get to the higher stakes, we won't make these mistakes. So that's the good thing about these smaller stakes. We can, we can practice some things. We can practice some lines. We can look at that mistake and say, oh, okay, don't do that one again. That's too thin. That's an example of me overplaying my equity. It's one of my leaks that I'm trying to resolve. Another leak I'm trying to resolve is overcalling when my opponent tells a story that they have it, and I don't believe them, even though they're telling me they have it, and their line is underbluffed. I still call sometimes. I'm getting better at it, but that's one of my leaks. And my other leak is just like we saw there, overplaying my equity value betting too thin, trying to get a little sneaky or a little tricky there, but I should have just checked that one. What it's gonna call, it's a straight board, like what's gonna, of course they, all right, so, and of course they also bet the turn, so they definitely had an ace, at least an ace. When the turn comes an ace, they bet the turn, I call the turn. At that point, even on the turn with the ace 5, I'm thinking, oh gosh, this might not even be good there, and I value bet it at the end. That's called making a terrible mistake, but it's okay. They're small mistakes, a couple BBs, 10 BBs or so, but that still adds up. I can save those BBs and use them for a higher quality decision, right? So instead of wasting those 10 BBs on value owning myself, you know, I could have saved those for more equitable bluff opportunity, where I can, you know, use that for a different situation, but it's okay. We gotta move on. But the thought process on that hand was to bet small to get called by worse or called by a smaller pair, but that board is too thin to value there. So take that mental note of that and hopefully not to make that mistake again, especially on this video if we're doing the same thing. I don't want to make the same mistake twice in a row on one video. That wouldn't be good. All right, so we'll play a couple more hands. Let's see if we get some interesting spots. That's kind of our thought process. So I want to get to showdown for the most part as cheap as possible, and I also always want to win at showdown for the most part, unless there's a situation where it's more probability of me making a bluff. I might get my bluff picked off, but there's could be situations where I could not win at showdown by making a bad bluff play or value owning myself, we just saw. But that's kind of my structure. Just want to take it step by step, think through the actions, make the best choice possible that I can. And if I make a bad mistake or a situation where I need to log a mental note, just make sure I try not to make the same mistake again, just so I can be the best I can be moving forward. More limps. Jeez. Well, last time I made the mistake of limping, or not limping, betting too small of a 4 BB. But here I bet a little bit bigger, 6 BBs, and I still got 3 callers. So ace high is available in their range, especially on the early positions, but they're limpers, so they could be very wide, but they did call big size bet. I'm just gonna call here with the flush draw. I probably should have raised that, but it's not the nut flush draw, it's a mid flush draw, so I want to overvalue it too much. I could just value on myself, especially with these large stacks. Here I did pick up a gut shot on the turn, and I still have my flush draw, so we'll see if this person bets this continuation size. Usually when they bet small like that, sometimes they're just betting their own draws. I did pick up gut shot. Doesn't think it's gonna make. I think I'm just gonna call, even though I did pick up some equity on the turn. I could consider raising that one, but given it's multi-way, I don't want to get thrown off my equity. As if I raise over the top and someone goes all in, I lose my equity here. Here I lose to higher flushes. I'm debating calling or raising, but I think I'm just gonna call with this middle flush here. Let's see what they have. And also straights out there as well. It could be value betting a straight. I was considering raising over the top with the 5-6 of diamonds there, but in my head, I'm thinking they might have a better flush than me there. I might be value owning myself, even though I just value owned with that previous hand. I was being a little conservative there. Also, with the call, it opens up the person behind me to either call or raise as well. So multi-way, people can have anything there, but maybe I should have raised at least 3x with that flush draw, but that's why I called there. Maybe it's a bad mistake there, but you can see with that individual when they bet the 24 BBs on the river with the straight board and flush board, and they had a set of aces, which a set of aces is very good, but on those boards, so they kind of just did what I did there. And also when they were betting that action, they're betting so small, right? 2 BBs, 5 BBs on the turn. They're just letting the draws get there for free. So if I have a set of aces there, I want to polarize my bets. I want to bet large to charge the draws so they don't outdraw me, which they did. And that's how I would have played the hand if I had the set of aces. I would have did at least a 75%, probably a 75% pot bet for the flush draws to continue. And the turn and the draws didn't continue as well, or the draws still didn't complete on the turn, so they should have bet even more, maybe an overbet to make my flush draws not want to call. And then of course the flush comes in the river and they still bet, but it is what it is. At least I guess if I went all in with a set of aces, I'll definitely call because they value bet there, but it is what it is. So we're going to play to the I'll play another couple minutes or so. I was gonna say we're gonna play to the this is deep stacks. I'm just gonna raise this one since we have lots of deep stacks. Sometimes players like to open up their ranges with deeper stacks. So 6 total hands. Looks like they open quite a bit of the hands. I'm gonna call here. They're open a little wide there. Do hit a 7. They could have ace high, king high, still in their range. I do have a pair. I'll call a half pot bet for sure. And I have a backdoor. I had a backdoor hard draw, but not anymore. Going to be a little conservative and fold that one. Given their size increased and their action increased, even though they will barrel on draws and bluffs, looked like a value bet line to me, but I'm just going to fold that one, especially with the 7s. They could have a queen, ace, queen there in their range. Maybe ace high, king high draws are out there, but given the action, we'll be a little conservative on that one. Maybe we'll look at some showdowns and see what they show down in the future here. We're gonna open up king 10 here. Got a limper to my left. Jack 10. Not gonna open that up that early in the positions. I raised that one a little bit higher because it was a limper, but so they had a hand there, 24 Bs. We're just gonna play to the big blinds, and all these actions are gonna sit up, top up, stand up as we do. We're gonna fold this one, stand up on that table, close this table. We're just gonna play to the big blind. call it quit for this video. So we are playing, we are in the big blind here, so we're just gonna stand up on this table, stand up. Here, we're on the small blind, and we're gonna close this table. Here, we're close, oh, got 10s here, that's good. Open this one. Here we're gonna play till we get to the big blind on this table. This is a small percentage of PFR, so they're kind of a tighter player. We're going to hope to set mine there with the 10s. 10s is still a good hand on this board. I'm going to check. Here I'm just going to check as well. I can take my equity to showdown. Jack would have bet. So Jack would have bet at this point. Do I want to learn from my mistake? I can't help myself. Can't help myself there. But I think a Jack would bet already. So I'm just getting value from a 5 or pocket pair. And that's the issue there of value owning myself. I get thrown off my equity, and I want to click this so bad, but it's okay. Thin value, own myself. I should have checked that one back, but my logic there is I'm gonna leave that table. The logic is there that a Jack would have bet most likely by then, but or maybe they had a strong hand. They're just letting everybody catch up. You know, that could be a possibility as well. But that's the second time I value owned myself in a session. Both times I had a clear idea of why I was looking for value. Both times I was overplaying my value. Both times the board was showing that I was overplaying my value, and I couldn't resist at that spot. So I should have checked that one back, but okay, it is what it is. But yeah, we will play a couple more hands on this table and call it quits, and we'll take a look at our current bankroll and see what we're up to. Started around $240 for the start of this session. And after this video, I'll probably play another 3 hours or so tonight to get some volume in and try to continue to increase that bankroll. Gonna fold. For this hand here, I'm just gonna play to the button. If I'm in the blinds, if I make it to the blinds, my mistake, I'm gonna just play to the button one more hand. And here I will play to the big blind though. I'm gonna play to the button one more hand because the button's the most profitable position to be at. So if I unluckily get to the blinds, just give my incentive to play the button. And here, I guess we're rewarded by not paying attention by getting aces in the small blind. Alright, so I guess there's no real bad way to play aces pre-flop. Actually, there is a bad way to play aces pre-flop. I did that the other day. I 3-bet too small, multi-way, and which caused the players to overcall. And I lost to Queen 4 suited. So here, it was a single raised pot, even though they limped. Their range is very wide. So they have some draws available. I'm gonna close this table. They do have some draws available. So, but with aces, I think I have to call. So 9-7 is available. What else is available? Okay. They definitely have some draws in their range, especially limping and calling one bet pre-flop. So, you know, they can definitely have some straight draws given that action, and nothing we can do there but call with the aces here. I don't want to bet that one over the top, so I'm going to fold. We're going to just stand up and see what our chip totals are. Stand up, go back to the lobby. All right, so we started about $240-ish. I think it was like 243 or something like that. So we got up to 254. Had a couple big hands, nothing too crazy. So even though I had a nice little top up to the bankroll, I'm still thinking about those errors and overplaying that equity, because the purpose of me playing these smaller stakes for now is eliminate those mistakes, so when I get to the larger stakes eventually, I'm not going to make those type of decisions where I am overvaluing my equity and betting too thin. As you can see in that one hand I had with the tens on the it's like trip 5 board with a jack, even though I bet small, as you can see, they went all in and they folded me off my equity. And that will happen a lot in higher stakes. When an opponent knows I'm betting too thin on a certain board, they'll just jam and they'll put me on a certain range of hands, and I'm not going to like that. So I could consider calling that hand with, again, on that jack board with the trip 5s, just because I would think that they would bet a jack on the flop and the turn and the river, but maybe they saw some weakness in my bet sizes and they knew exactly what I was trying to value, and they just jammed over the top, which is a great play if they did do that. But of course the alternative is they could have had quads and just waiting for someone to show interest and jamming over the top. But anyway, so that's the session for today. Let me know if you have any suggestions on when I should improve, and any spots that my logic doesn't make sense, call that out and we'll get better one day at a time. But thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.